Welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Rebecca Berger, and this is Justice for All, where you get to hear from local professionals in the surrounding area. Tonight, I have an amazing guest with me tonight, Michael Fioretti of the Michael Fioretti Law Firm in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Welcome, Mike. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me.
I am so excited to hear not only about how your practice has gone and how you came into practicing law, but hearing about what it is that you do now, because I know you do such amazing things, and no one would ever believe that you've been practicing for over 47 years. That is something no one would ever believe.
That's true. Well, I did become a lawyer when I was 9 years of age, so that helps me a little. I was the Doogie Howser of the legal profession.
Now that's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. That's very impressive. Did you always want to be a lawyer?
No. As a matter of fact, when I applied to St. Joe's College, now university, I was going to be a chemical engineer. So in those days, the assistant deans took a real interest in their prospective students. So the dean called me in one day and said, Michael, your skills are all with language. You really should not be a science major because your language skills are far superior to your math skills. Mm-hmm. So we're going to make you a liberal arts major for 1 year. If you still want to go into chemistry, we'll put you in there the second year. Well, I never went back to chemistry. I became a political science major and ended up at Villanova Law School.
Okay. Did you continue to go straight through Villanova?
I had a break. In the middle of my law school career, I was drafted into the United States Army. And I was sent to Vietnam for a year, and then I came back and went to law school. Now, my Vietnam experience is a little bit different than other people's Vietnam experience because I was selected to go to Vietnamese language school. So I went to language school for 9 months and learned the Vietnamese language. And then I was one of 30 students that was picked to go into military intelligence. So then I was at the military intelligence school where I was trained to be an interrogator. That interrogation training has helped me immeasurably throughout my career.
I can't imagine that it doesn't help you in particularly going into law.
Well, it certainly helped me with cross-examination. It certainly helped me with reading people's bodies' language. It certainly helped me with the ability to see who's telling me the truth and who isn't. Now, it helped me when I was a criminal defense lawyer the first 8 years, but in my mediation practice, it really helps me because I can find common ground so that I can identify with people, get with them, and let them trust what I'm telling them. And that usually leads to a pretty good result.
So you're in Vietnam. You've learned Vietnamese. So what was your experience there?
I was very fortunate. I was safer in Vietnam than your parents were, okay? Because I had a top secret crypto clearance. I had access to all of the top secret information, so therefore I could not be put in a position where I was going to be captured. The entire 101st Airborne surrounded the post that I was in. I was in a very protected area because of what we did. It was very impressive on how military intelligence, by the way, is not an oxymoron. There are people there that are really incredibly bright. We would intercept NVA and Viet Cong communications. Our decoders would decode what they were sending to each other. It would then come to me. I would translate it and directly teletype it to the Department of Defense.
Wow.
They would get those translations and they would act on them. A couple of those translations were, we are going to hit Camp Carroll at. They would send the planes in, strafe that area, and that camp would be saved at that time. So I had a great job. I can't complain. I can complain about the fact that my entire life I worked to get through law school, and I had a year and a half to go. By the way, my father was a World War II veteran.
Oh,
Prior
wow.
to my leaving, we had many discussions about the Vietnam War.
So what were his
He
thoughts?
was on the side of the Vietnam War. I was not.
Oh, no.
And he changed his mind the day I got drafted. He didn't think it was a good idea anymore. None of them did.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Because
his
now
son's going.
Now I was on the line, so
Yeah.
that changed things.
Yeah, I can't imagine as a father, he was like saying, oh, this is a great idea now.
But when you come back from Vietnam and you go back to law school, that is the easiest school you've ever been to in your life.
Well, after learning Vietnamese, I can't imagine that
Law
it
school,
was-
law school was a joke when I got back. It was
Yeah.
very, very easy, and that experience probably helped me greatly. I did not like the way I was treated when I came back. It was pretty bad.
Really?
Oh, yeah. When I was in San Francisco in uniform, coming home, people were spitting on me,
Wow.
calling me a baby killer.
Wow.
And it was like a joke. If you went to Vietnam, you had to be stupid or it was a joke because everybody was getting out of it. Their parents were getting it. We know a couple people that were in a high office
Yeah.
that got out of it. Everybody was getting out of that war. So when you got drafted, it was almost like they looked down upon you. Went to Vietnam, it was
You
even
didn't have a
worse.
choice. What was
That's
your
my
choice?
point, and that was our point. So, the Vietnam Veterans of America, of which I am a member, have changed that. They will not allow any veterans to be treated like that again. They won't.
Wow.
And that's been their philosophy since they've been in existence.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And they go to Dover, when the bodies come in, they console the families. They are involved in a lot of things to help veterans.
I love that because, I mean, to dedicate your life and service to something, quite frankly, you didn't have a choice on.
And I was against it.
Well, for
And I was
me-
against the war. However, my position was this: if my country calls me, even though I'm against it, I have to do it.
Well,
and
thank
I
you
did.
for your service.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when you come back and you're in law school and you finish law school, so is there any area that you thought you wanted to
Oh,
go
yeah.
into? What was your dream?
Criminal defense lawyer. I thought that I was going to be a criminal defense lawyer. So everything that I geared myself through in law school was criminal defense. And I ended up with a mentor who was probably the best lawyer in all of this area. His name was A. Charles Peruto Sr.
Oh, wow.
He was an excellent attorney. And what happened was a doctor came in one day and said to him, Chuck, I'm going through a divorce. I need a really good divorce lawyer. And Chuck said, oh my God, thank God you're here. We have the best divorce lawyer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Mike, come here a minute. I never
Have
did
you-
one.
have
I
you-
never
have you-
did one.
No?
No, I never did
So this
one.
is 8 years after being a criminal defense lawyer?
No, it was before that.
Okay.
I lasted for 8 years, but I started with divorce work in around 75 or 76. Because once I got into it,
Yes.
that was it. At the end of that first divorce case, and there was a very competent attorney on the other side,
Yes.
when the case was over, she asked me if I would appear at her U of Penn law class to talk about family law. Based on my one
Wow.
case, she didn't know I only had one case, obviously.
Wow.
And as you know,
Yes.
once you're in family law, you really can't do anything else. You can't
Yes.
do criminal.
Yeah.
If you're on a 5-day jury trial, you'll lose half your practice.
That's
Because
true.
you have to have constant communication with everyone. So I made that choice. By 1977, I was selected as one of the best lawyers in America for divorce work in Pennsylvania. By 1979, Philadelphia Magazine had selected me as one of the people to watch in 79 people to watch in 79 for my work in family law. So
See,
very,
I absolutely believe that,
so
knowing
very
you.
quickly, because in the beginning I was trying divorce cases like criminal trials.
Yes.
So I was killing everybody.
Yeah.
I kind of figured out that I shouldn't really be doing that anymore. But I
Well,
think
because it's
I-
very different. It's very different. And working in criminal law myself and being a former prosecutor
Mm-hmm.
and then going to family law, they're very different. And particularly how you try a case. Although in criminal law, you really learn the rules of evidence because they are your best friends when you're trying cases.
for both sides, because
Yes.
the job of a criminal defense lawyer is to destroy everything that's in front of that
Yes.
person and not let in anything that's detrimental to your client.
Yes.
So yeah, it's different. It's totally different.
So when you were a criminal defense attorney, are there any cases that really come to mind as being, some of the hardest ones that you've ever tried,
Well,
or,
the
or
gr-
even interesting?
The funnest one I ever had was in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. It's a farm town. And this young guy was arrested for sale of marijuana to another individual.
Okay.
And the sale took place on an army base, and they were both in the military. And the military refused to prosecute that case. So it was a jury trial, And it was really funny because the guys came in with overalls. They all came in off the farms. Everybody was saying, how are the tomatoes this year? And I'm like this city slicker. And I was like 14 years old at that time. So we tried that case, and I went on an entrapment defense.
Oh my gosh.
And you know how
So
successful.
what are the charges?
Sale of marijuana.
That was it?
Sold 5 pounds of marijuana
Okay.
to another guy. I went with entrapment. Now, you know how that works, right?
Yeah.
The jury was out for 45 minutes, and they came back with a not guilty, which was like unbelievable.
Wow.
Because everybody said, you know, get your essentially speech ready because he's probably going to lock him up today and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I had co-counsel out there because I needed a connection.
Yes.
He said, you know, you're going to work out a plea. Nah, we're going to go to trial. We'll see what happens. And during that case, talk about interrogation,
Yes.
the main witness for the Commonwealth was a investigator with the Navy.
Wow.
So he took the stand and he was testifying. When I cross-examined him, he just lost it. His head went blank and his face went totally blank because he could not keep up
With
the
what the
questions, with the
questioning
way the
was.
questions were coming out and the responses. He blacked out. Once he blacked out, I knew I had a really good shot because that was the most important witness that they had. Other than the fact that they filmed it, had the drugs, they had the whole thing. Other than that evidence, there was nothing else.
So they filmed.
They filmed it.
They filmed it.
They filmed it. They had all kinds of evidence. But
Yeah.
that guy probably was the reason why. These are farmers.
Yeah.
They know how to pick out people that aren't telling the truth.
Which is kind of interesting because I don't think people really realize when you're in trial, particularly for the witnesses, you can prep witnesses, you can talk to witnesses, but when you're actually sitting in trial and that person's sitting on the stand, you have witnesses who just, you go blank.
Well, I always said that if I could give the opening, testify, handle
Yes.
cross-examination, and give the closing, I would never lose a case.
I have said the same thing because I describe it as you're writing, producing, directing, and acting out the play. And if you could only just act as your own witnesses, that would be amazing as well.
Yeah, because and you prepare them.
Yes.
You
'Cause
prepare them and you
Yes.
prepare them for cross-examination. It doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't make a
They
difference.
go loco on the stand. They do whatever they want.
Well, and I think being up there, because they're not in the courtroom all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there were times I've brought people to the courtroom to just have the experience, because some people have never been in a courtroom. So I think it's one of those experiences that makes people nervous when they're actually going in this. So I'm going to want to hear about your transition and how you made that transition as soon as we take this commercial break, because I'm curious how this all ended up continuing into family law and why you gave that up.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
And we'll be back.
Your home for the freshest, locally sourced ingredients to please everyone who loves great food. Our organic meats, quality seafood, and free-range poultry are cut fresh to order. Chefs create culinary-inspired prep foods made fresh every day, which pair nicely with our vast selection of fine wines and spirits. Choose from handmade pastas, artisan cheeses, organic produce, and grocery items, all from the finest purveyors. We're Stelly Market Fresh, from our family to yours.
RVN TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel, and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Shelter dogs aren't broken. They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to tell.
Welcome back. We're here with Michael Fioretti, learning about his career, hearing about some of the things that he's experienced, not only in criminal law, but also now his transition to family law. So, Michael, you were mainly a Pennsylvania lawyer at this time, correct?
From 1972 through 1980, I was a Pennsylvania lawyer only. When I took the bar exam in 72, you could not take 2 bar exams at that time. So in 1980, after being a lawyer for 8 years, I took the bar exam.
Wow.
That was an amazing experience.
That's definitely...
Because when you're coming out of law school, you're thinking
Yes.
that way. When you're a practical lawyer and you've been practicing law for that period of time, it wasn't the same. But fortunately, I passed. I was always known in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and I always had an office there, and I went to the 5-county Pennsylvania area. I came to New Jersey to start to practice family law. I thought I died and went to heaven, okay? Because the difference between the 2 states is unbelievable.
So what do you think the biggest difference is?
The manner in which the cases proceed in New Jersey. Pennsylvania has a lawyer-controlled docket. The 2 lawyers control how that case is going to move through the system.
Wow.
New Jersey has a judge AOC controlled docket.
Wow.
And they really push that 1-year end date, which is getting to be not as much as it used to be before.
Yeah.
So, for example, I had a case in Bucks County. It was only 19 years old.
Wow.
19 years.
So this divorce is continuing on for 19 years?
Because the lawyers have to do something to bring it to the court's attention. If you do not, it just sits there. Now, they have put in a system where they dismiss cases that haven't moved in some jurisdictions. So that's the one big difference. Another big difference is, especially in a city like Philadelphia, you don't see a judge that often. There's all masters and hearing officers, and they do a great job. I'm not criticizing them. And you can have a case for your entire career, and it can last that period of time. Now, when I came to New Jersey, this whole thing about pendente lite motions.
So well, let's explain what that means
A
first.
pendente lite motion is a motion that you can file initially in a case and ask for whatever relief you want in Jersey. Support, mediation for custody, injunctions against restraint of assets, retainers, expert fees, whatever you want goes into this document.
Yes.
The other side answers it, and a judge actually gives you a decision on all of those issues. In some jurisdiction, that decision is in the form of a tentative disposition, where the judge will send you a projected decision. If everybody accepts it, it's good. If somebody rejects it or doesn't want what part of the tentative, you argue it. But you get a decision 24 to 35 days after you're filing
Wow.
that motion. In Jersey.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, the custody cases in Pennsylvania now are in 2022.
Wow.
So,
So in Pennsylvania, are you able to ask for the pendente lite again, the temporary relief of these issues?
you can. It won't be that quick. And it depends on the judge you're with and what the situation is at that time. However, in my experience, just going to be going to Pennsylvania. In my experience, the Jersey system is superior. And I've made it known to my peers in Pennsylvania. So I went from 100% Pennsylvania to 10% New Jersey to now I'm about 100% New Jersey.
Wow.
And I have very minimal work in Pennsylvania. And I'm not really going to do it anymore. I'm going to let my associate handle it.
So now you've been in New Jersey now since
1980.
Wow.
So, but Pennsylvania, yeah. And the other transition that took place, which you're aware of,
Yes.
is the transition from a litigator, a high conflict, good litigator, to a mediator.
Yes.
And that was something that I planned. I knew that when I got to the end of my career, I didn't want to be running around in courthouses trying cases and dealing with the aggravation. So I thought that mediation would be a good fit. So I took the mediation training, and then I start doing the mediations. I'm telling you, in no time, all the lawyers and judges were selecting me as their mediator because I have a technique that is totally different than the other mediators. You actually show up one day, and there's a 90% chance you're going to walk out with your case resolved
Yeah.
after that one day.
And I can attest to that. I mean, I've
You've
been
had
through,
some bad ones.
I've had some very interesting cases, and I can attest to the fact that you come in there, and again, mediation is one of these things. In divorce cases, there's a couple of different ways that you can go. You're trying to get this case resolved because for people, they're spending a lot of money, and you want to try to get them resolved. There's no reason to spend this money if we can try to resolve the case. But you can't always control adversaries or parties' emotions, because what do you think is the biggest block to people resolving their cases in family law in all of these years?
Somebody doesn't want to be divorced. And as a result of that, they're going to do everything they can to sabotage it and not bring it to the conclusion because they really don't want to bring it to conclusion. So you'll attest to this.
Yes.
The first thing I do with the clients, especially the one that doesn't want it, I have a little talk with that person to say, look, I know how you feel. I know how bad this is. And I know you really don't want to go through this at this time. But it's going to happen. So it's either going to happen this way or it's going to happen another way that's not going to be so beneficial to you. So I know where you're coming from and I feel for it. And that emotional thing I can't cure for you. But the economics and those other issues, you got to get them resolved because if not, it's going to get worse, not better. Usually I get them to come around.
Well, I like the speech that you actually give explaining to the parties, not only explaining the mediation process in family law cases, but also explaining the time you've taken and the fact that if you go to trial, it's not what you think. It's not like you see on TV, like in criminal cases where there's consecutive trials. Every day is consecutive, and I think when litigants in family law cases are going into this, they think I'm going to go to trial every single day.
I do give that speech.
And you give that speech, and I think it's important to tell me and tell the public, what is the speech that you give?
Okay, well, the speech with regard to trial is this. If you do not settle today, your judge will probably say you have a trial date March 10th at 10 o'clock. Your lawyer and your spouse's lawyer will do a pretrial memorandum. They will pre-mark exhibits. They will prepare you to testify. They will prepare your witnesses to testify. And you will all go to that courthouse at 10 o'clock, really excited because you think that's the day it's going to be done. On that day, you will find out more about your lawyer's family than you ever needed to know because of the downtime. You don't finish that day. You're not going back the next day. It might be a couple weeks after that. And the same process goes again. And at that point in time, you're going to find out about your lawyer's extended family. In the meantime, while your lawyer and you are sitting there talking to each other, the hourly clock is running, your fees are increasing, and it has to come to you that, wait, is this money going to equate to me getting a recovery that makes sense? Because it probably won't. Because every divorce case is a fifth grade math problem with complications. It's addition, subtraction, division. It's not that complicated.
I think that people don't understand that concept that, again, you're not going to go every single day, and particularly in family law cases, there are a number of things going on in family court every single day, multiple things. So you have motions, which are requests to the court to ask them to do something. You have, custody issues. You may have, emergent motions to the court. So all of those things are being taken care of in between these, maybe you're scheduled for trial and some testimony, you may have some testimony that day, and again, you're not going to return for like a month later potentially. So your trial could last,
13 days.
13 days over a period sometimes of a year, just not knowing, depending upon the court's calendar, because it really just depends. There's a lot going on in family law on a daily basis.
The other thing that I think is effective in that introductory speech, if your client's 42 years old, I'll say to your client, when you were -6 and your parents weren't even thinking about you, I was practicing law. Today, you are going to get the undivided attention of a lawyer with 48 years of experience, which is not going to happen anyplace else. You're going to get to talk to a third-party neutral that's not your lawyer. You're going to get to say whatever you want and talk about whatever issue you want to talk about. Because, and I tell them, I guarantee if you go to trial, you're going to walk out there saying, geez, I didn't get a chance to tell my story. Because you're not going to get a chance. The rules of evidence apply and your testimony is severely limited. It works. It does work.
Well, I can attest to the fact that it works. How much of your practice now is mediation?
It's 100%.
Okay.
I have very little litigation left, and I'm not really pushing to get those cases. I'm giving them all to my associate, Phil Sharmella, who's an excellent two-state lawyer. He lives in Pennsylvania, so it's easier for him to pick up the Pennsylvania practice. And he's a little bit younger yet. But I really enjoy mediation. I like working with the people. And from my perspective, it's the perfect thing for me to be doing right now. So the next day that I actually go to work, I'll go to work, because I don't go to work. I go to my office to deal with these cases every day, and I really do enjoy it.
Well, and I like the fact that you take a lot of time to really look at, so each attorney submits a memo to you with exhibits so that you can look at, you know, the financials, any issues they may want to bring to your attention, trying to figure out how to resolve this case.
I read everything. And while I'm reading it, I'm analyzing it. And I always tell the clients, I don't believe everything I read. So don't worry about that, because I don't have to worry about believing what I read, because I'm going to get the information directly from you. So, and then a lot of times clients are worried that I'm spending too much time with one client. So now I've added, if I'm with one client longer than you think, the fix is not in. It's just that I need more information with that client.
Which is important, because I think sometimes they think yeah.
You need to eradicate all thoughts of anything that's not fair, neutral, and equal with regard to both people.
I mean, I think that you do an amazing job doing it. And I know, you know, there's constant referrals to you, and I know that the courts also have you as listed as a court mediator as well, because I think sometimes the court can actually send mediations to you.
I get a lot. I really do.
So they actually put it in an order
They'll
for you?
put it in an order. Sometimes they name me parent coordinator. Sometimes they put me in an order for a post-judgment situation. But predominantly, I think the cases are coming in because the lawyers who have dealt with me are selecting me. And not too many lawyers object to me. The only people that object are the ones that are afraid their case might get settled. They're the ones that object. The other people who they know when they come in, there's a 90% chance they're going to get their case settled. Because they're settled. It's amazing how many I settle.
So if someone wanted to, so do they have to be represented in order to come to you?
No, I do privates. The private mediation is a different procedure than when I do with lawyer-connected mediations within the system. In those cases, the people have already dealt with the system. They're represented by counsel, and I want the lawyers there. Because they're not going to make a deal or think about anything unless their lawyer gives them some advice on that issue.
So, Michael, if people want to get a hold of you, what is your email address?
All right, so I want everybody to know that I'm doing Pennsylvania and New Jersey mediations.
Okay.
However, if you're a Pennsylvania person, you're going to do the New Jersey mediation in my Cherry Hill office.
Okay.
My email address is mdfioretti@mdfioretti.com. My phone number is 856-427-9060. My webpage is at www.lawofficemdfioretti.com.
Mike, I want to thank you for being here. It is always a pleasure speaking to you. I enjoyed our time together as always, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week.